Welcome to Dream Machine with me, Alex Matcham, and my colleague Laura Brown.
Hello.
Each episode, we're going to speak to one of our fund managers in order to try to get to know the people behind the portfolios.
That's right. We're going to be asking our investment expert what their favourite drink, packet of crisps or chocolate bar is from our vending machine.
As well as some other questions in order to get to know them a little bit better.
And we should say at this point, this is not a promotion for any of the items talked about on Dream Machine. There is a whole world of snacks out.
Indeed, none of the content of Dream Machine should be considered as financial advice nor nutritional advice. If you are unsure, you should speak to a financial advisor or a nutritionist.
So, with the disclaimers well and truly done, let's begin. This episode, we're talking to Alex Araujo, fund manager on the global equity portfolios at M&G Investments. Alex has been with M&G for 10 years, almost 10 years, and has a particular focus on listed infrastructure investments. Alex, hello.
Hello.
So, normally we would ask and say, what was your reaction to being asked to do this podcast? But you've got form. We've done this before in a different iteration,
This is not
haven't
our
we?
first rodeo, Alex.
Indeed. Would you like to regale us with your first experience?
It was January 2018.
Yep.
It was a dark, stormy, rainy evening, and we were traveling down the M1, I believe it was, doing our initial marketing for the listed infrastructure strategy. And we were looking for ideas to pass the time. And full credit to you, Alex, the fantasy vending machine concept, which has now been rebranded, I see,
Indeed.
came up, and we kind of went through our favorite vending machine items, and this really helped pass the time for about 3 miles, I think it was in total.
It's amazing what you have to do in the name of marketing.
Yeah, and I do remember one thing about that, not to belabor it, but because as you know, I didn't grow up in the UK. Some of the products that I was throwing out there were met with complete puzzlement by the rest of the passengers in the vehicle, and I think we'll have some more of that.
That's what I'm really excited about, to be honest, because I think this is real variety.
Yeah. This is truly international. We are truly global, aren't we?
Exactly.
Yes, global dream machine.
Maybe you mentioned there not growing up in the UK. Can we start maybe with how you got into the world of investments?
Sure.
And then latterly M&G. It'd be useful to hear about your career and how it's evolved.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Canada. I was born in Canada. And my introduction to investing was extremely fortuitous. In the very early 1980s, many will remember we had an energy price shock, we had hyperinflation, and we had very, very high interest rates. And I remember my dad taking me to the local equivalent of the cooperative bank or savings and loan. They were called trusts, I guess, back then. And I actually remember it was Victoria and Grey Trust, where I got my first bank account. And back then you had this little passbook that went through a machine, and it would print your balances and deposits and so on. So I had my first bank account. And at the time, interest rates were very high, and of course my spending needs were very low. And I watched this bank balance go up exponentially, and I thought, well, this is fun. This is for me. And that culminated in me actually buying, with my own savings, to sort of enhance my return, a Government of Canada savings bond. It would have been 1982, I think. With a 19% guaranteed yield.
Wow.
And I just said, this is the world for me, the world of investing. This is easy. Let's do this. So that's how I got in. That was the very early stage.
And then you, over time, came into jobs that working on the sell side, I understand.
Yeah. I was always interested in investing, always interested in finance. It's what I studied at university. Started my career on the sell side at a couple of institutions, and one of them, UBS, moved me to the UK, and I then established myself here, and 22 years. It was a 2-year contract.
Wow.
2-year placement, 2-year assignment, and here we are, nearly 23 years later.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think probably falls to me to kind of start official vending machine proceedings. So you've got this amazing dream vending machine in front of you. You have the right change. What's your drink of choice?
The drink of choice.
Drink of choice
has to be an A&W root beer.
Oh,
And
here we go.
And
we have
indeed.
some.
there we have it. Now, I do have to say, when we get into investing, we have to be rather forensic about things, and we have to make sure that everything is as it's
Yes, good. Yes, exactly.
as it seems. This is not A&W root beer. This is AW root beer. Now, it could be counterfeit. It could be just branded differently in this part of the world. But the beauty of an A&W root beer, for those of you that might be uninitiated,
I'm definitely
is when you pour it cold into a very tall glass, and then you add a big scoop of vanilla ice cream.
So that's a root beer float.
Top.
Is that?
That is like a root beer float, okay. And that's where it really comes into its own. That's where
that's
where it
peak
flourishes.
Okay.
That's peak. That is peak. That is peak root beer.
So
it's not peak nutritional value.
Not that cold.
No.
So today, warming out of a can.
Warm out of a can with no ice cream.
So
we're already falling short on the fantasy aspect, but
yeah,
we will, pretend to address that. Right, I'm going for it.
How do we feel?
What is it?
It's an acquired taste, is what it is.
I feel like it's the Canadian equivalent of Dandelion Biodoc. It's quite medicinal.
It does have medicinal. There's a Jägermeister hint, isn't there? There's something herbal around it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's in it. It's probably one of these secret recipes. Well done finding that. I guess we'll just have to check with the auditors.
How do you source it now?
I don't. I mean, you'll find that the fantasy vending machine is truly fantasy now, because you've got to really watch what you put in your body.
Any spares that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Root beer, probably not a
regularly.
pre-cycling drink.
No, it could be. It's got the calories, that's for sure. I mean, the nutritional value of a root beer float, I wouldn't even dare to.
Yeah, we won't ponder on that one too much. It does. It's naturally flavored, so maybe we can feel there's some kind of.
Okay. Yeah, all natural.
Can you touch briefly on joining M&G and how that came about, just briefly, because I know that you had some interaction before.
Yeah, I covered M&G for a long time. From the sell side, various individuals, and I always wanted to get onto the investment side, and there was no other firm, and this is not a overly promotional plug, I hope, but there's no other firm that I would have wanted to work at for its culture, for its people, for its investment rigor, autonomy, and I had the pleasure of working with Stu Rhodes, who inspired the fund that I then subsequently launched and now manage. And I actually gave him the idea. I said, you guys should launch a global listed infrastructure fund. And I even suggested someone to do it, and we won't name names. And and he said, why don't you come and do it? I said, why don't I come and do it? Because I have no idea what I'm doing. I just gave you the idea. That's all I'm supposed to do on the sell side. Give you the idea and then you run with it. And we got to talking and spent a lot of time together with the concept and with the idea. And it was a stage in my life, in my career, where I was willing and able to take the risk. And so I sort of crossed the river, as it were, and the rest is history.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you for your first choice there, root beer.
Challenging.
I imagine it will be a while until I have it again. Maybe with some ice cream at the top, but it was a unique choice.
You drank more than either Laura.
Yeah, I was being polite.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll move on to your next dream machine item.
Okay,
what would be your choice of dream, or your fancy choice of crisps?
Crisps, right. For crisps, I'm going to go with Dorito Cool Ranch.
Okay. That's important.
Cool Ranch. That was the branding that we had. Oh, here we go. What have you got?
Yeah.
So
really good.
That's nice.
Once again, I mean, they could be counterfeit, but the branding could be the extra. These are actually Cool Original rather than Cool Ranch. Now, if I said to either of you, what is ranch?
I just think of like a ranch.
You think of horses and
I say
cowboys.
Ranch. Yes, I think of like cowboys.
Right.
It's like a dressing, isn't it? It's a salad dressing.
It is a common,
mayo,
it is. I think it's a style, it's a cream, or it's a flavor of salad dressing, which also apparently goes on hamburgers in certain places in place of mayo. And I think they've, I guess, replicated that in powder form, Now I'll tell you why.
Why
These are so joyous for me.
And they're good.
Oh, good crisp.
They're good, crisp. Sorry, I'm probably crunching into the.
No, that's all right. It's part of the
Microphone.
effect.
So, they do say that taste and smell are the most evocative senses for memories. So when I bite into one of these Dorito Cool Ranch crisps, I remember watching Canadian ice hockey games on a little black and white TV as a kid, having gone out and bought a bag of these and eating them while I watched my favorite team lose time and time and time and time again. For those of you that follow, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, Toronto Maple Leafs, a long-suffering Toronto Maple Leafs fan. They haven't won a Stanley Cup since before I was born, but they keep coming close. I mean, every year is the year. Every year is the year.
And they make the playoffs?
To the point where they actually did a Netflix documentary on the team in the year that they had the best chance. And I knew what happened in the end because I was following it closely. But anybody that's maybe, a casual sports fan could watch that series.
But the dream didn't quite come true.
The dream has not yet come true. And look, I've still got a bit of lifetime left.
Next season.
And
that's the hope.
These Cool Original, Cool Ranch, do they taste the same or is
They're similar. They're not as powdery. I do remember after finishing, after watching the first period of the hockey game and finishing most of the bag, my fingers were coated with powder, and you'd kind of have to scrape it off. I mean, I know this isn't sounding very appetizing.
I wonder if why we call it Cool Original is because it's so mortifying for us to say ranch. Because Cool Ranch versus Ranch.
You're right. Laura's right. If we try and say ranch, it's awful.
Yeah.
But you said it.
Cool Original is where
but
it is.
we read in our research, because this is, there's high journalistic rigor here. We saw that Doritos have been around since 1964. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I wasn't.
No. So they've been around a long time. And the seamless segue is that you're obviously a very long-term investor.
Right.
And I think, by nature, what you do in terms of looking at infrastructure companies and listed infrastructure companies, that you are looking for the very long term.
Yes.
How do you not get carried away with shorter term fads when you're investing, or things that could be fads? How do you not get carried away with the latest thing when you're trying to focus on the long term?
Well, we tried. And the first thing I need to say is I have not been investing that long. I mean, I wasn't even born when these things were invented, okay? So please don't age me inappropriately on this podcast.
No, sorry, that wasn't the intention.
But what we try to determine is how much is priced in.
Okay.
So how much of the expectation and the excitement and the novelty and the fad, to use your words, is actually priced into the value of the business. And if a lot of it is, then we're less interested because you're basically betting on something being 100% likely to occur. And that's not great investing. What you want to do is invest in something where you have what I like to call the optionality and potential upside that might come from all of these exciting things without having to pay very much for it. If that makes sense. And there are so many examples in the infrastructure world, believe it or not, where you don't really know where the upside will come from. You don't pay for it, but inevitably it arises because over a long period of time, things change. I mean, we've, in our lifetimes, imagine what we've come to experience and consume and have as products at our disposal. It's pretty incredible. A great example, actually, coming back to my own heritage, is one of our investments in the fund has a toll road that was built in the mid-90s in my hometown of Toronto, Canada, and it was granted with a 100-year concession life. And of course, a lot can happen in 100 years. And this was just meant to be a bit of a ring road, a little bit like the top end of the M25 for those that know London. And it was great. It was fine. But then over the years, Toronto became one of the fastest growing cities in North America. It just spread and spread and spread and spread. And because it's bordered on the south by a lake, it could only spread up and out. And so this little toll road became a critical commuter artery in the city, and grew and grew and grew. And here we are with another 70 odd years left in the concession, and probably lots yet to happen. Yeah. And you didn't have to pay for it. You didn't have to get overexcited about it.
And I was just having a thought, when you travel, generally, do you look at the world differently now in terms of like infrastructure? Do you think, I'm on a toll road, or this is an airport? No, do you know what I mean? Does it make you kind of...
Sounds really fun.
Oh, look, there's a dam.
Yeah, these are the real highlights.
No wonder you had to come up with dream vending machine.
Hang on, let me send a message to my kids.
Yeah.
I'm on a toll road.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually went through a toll tunnel yesterday.
Well, there you go.
In Dublin. And it was quite, I mean, this is a genuine moment. I mean, you can check the logs. We just finished a day of marketing with clients in Dublin, and we bundled into a taxi, and the taxi driver said, "What time is your flight?" We said, "Well, the flight's at 5:30. He's like, "Right. We probably should take the toll tunnel. It'll get us there quicker, but we have to pay the price." And so that is what infrastructure is all about. And in the extreme, I'll tell you another toll road story, because come on, this is like,
it's all about the toll roads.
It's all about the toll roads. One of our companies, the same company that built that toll road that I previously referenced, invented something called the managed lane. And the managed lane is a kind of toll road. And by the way, this is only in America. I mean, if you did this anywhere else, especially around here, you'd probably go to jail. All right. You've got a toll road where you're paying the toll and you're driving along. And I don't know, let's say it's a Saturday morning and you're taking the kids to a birthday party, right? And you're on the toll road, but you get stuck in traffic, right? And this is a problem. You're going to be late for the birthday party, and the kids are crying, and you have an option. You do have an option. You can actually check a little transponder or your phone, and you can pay a higher price than the price you're already paying to go into a faster lane, which is called the managed lane,
like
right? Throw money at the problem, right?
Yeah.
And the price of that option changes every couple of minutes, right? It's dynamically priced, because if you don't price it high enough, it's going to get busy in that toll road. But you find the price that guaranteed. So you throw money at the problem, you hit the managed lane, you make it to the bouncy castle.
Is it capped, or can it just go up?
Oh, it can go, yeah. It can,
wow.
Well,
So if it's kind of asking you how much
are you willing to
how
pay?
bad is the situation you are
exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
it's like fast track at a theme park, right? And when you're
in a sense
queuing with children, you
Yes.
will pay anything not to be in that queue for another. So I can sort of
exactly right. And that revenue,
Yeah,
it
makes a great investment.
sweet revenue. Should we return? Like, we've got our final item. So this is now your dream chocolate bar.
Okay. The dream chocolate bar.
The dream chocolate bar.
So the dream chocolate bar, the fantasy chocolate bar, is again one that I grew up with as a kid. And I will fully admit to having been influenced by a particular advert.
Okay.
As it happens, I actually really liked the chocolate bar. But the advert was, and people should look this one up because it was quite famous. It was so famous that in the schoolyard and here and there, the main refrain of the advert would get repeated over and over and over again. So the chocolate bar, which might not be familiar to people in this part of the world, is called Wunderbar with a W. Wunderbar.
Yeah.
Okay. And and it's a Cadbury's product, or was. Does it exist? I don't know. I guess I'll soon see, because you're hiding something under the table. But Wunderbar had this advert, and it was a group of Vikings landing on an island and digging up treasure, and they open up one of the treasure chests, and there's this stack of Wunderbars, and none of them are English speaking, of course, because they're Vikings, and all they say is Wunderbar, Wunderbar. And then one takes a bite and he says, Wunderbar! Please watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. And so you imagine in the schoolyard, you hit the baseball,
and that's just Wunderbar.
Wunderbar!
And that was
Do you do that when a particularly good results come?
If you get a good earnings call,
I might start. I quite like that.
It would be brilliant. In the middle of the investment floor, all of a sudden, it's Wunderbar.
We could do it like after a particularly good event. After.
Maybe we could sample that and sort of have it as a recording, just
So we don't have Wunderbar, but we have
right. So we failed on A&W.
Well, no, that's AW root beer.
We got
none of them
original,
are exactly
cool
authentic.
original,
But
and you've brought Starbar. Starbar. Okay.
So this is, as I understand it, or as we understand it,
based on Google, we think this is
the equivalent.
the equivalent.
Do we?
We have one in half.
Do you have one? Yeah, I think we need to do some forensics.
Because
here.
yes, in line with your.
So, not bad. I think the Wunderbar, being North American, of course, and given portion sizes, is quite a lot bigger.
Right.
And the core is probably more peanut butter. It's peanut butter, caramel, peanuts, chocolate. What do you think?
I'm a star.
I didn't actually know it was peanut buttery.
Right. I always thought it was more akin to a picnic.
Yeah,
bar, but maybe it's a
picnic's got raisins in.
Oh, okay. No raisins.
No, this is very much
no accidental fruit.
Right. I will try it.
Yeah, please.
I will try it.
No,
Please do. I like it. I think
it's very chewy.
It is a chewy bar.
I feel like.
You know what? That is close.
Is that pretty good?
That's a bit like a Wunderbar light. So rather than Wunderbar, it's more like Wunderbar.
Okay.
Wunderbar, like a
more
refined,
moderated.
Yeah,
and more sophisticated.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that is. I mean, it's Cadbury's. They must have a common assembly line for these products that end up.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
Sharing it and working it out.
That's great. Thank you.
I think it's a good choice.
That works.
I like it. It's nice.
I like it. It's a satisfying chocolate bar.
I think what you've also done is you've brought a lot more variety to our snack selection.
Multicultural
I like
snacking.
it, which I think is important.
Yeah. It stays with you as well. It kind of gets stuck in your teeth.
Yeah. What kind of motivates you? What keeps you going in terms of?
I have the best job in the world. We are, as we discussed earlier, we're living in obviously some very difficult times. There's a lot wrong in the world. There are a lot of difficult things going on. But at the same time, we are living through incredible times in terms of technological advancement and innovation. And there's always something interesting to look at. And the challenge is actually to refine what we're looking at, because there's so much incredible stuff going on. And a lot of it is hard to get your head around. And you have to really spend the time to understand what's going on in artificial intelligence or the semiconductor industry, or even regionally. I'm doing my first investment trip to India, just to really get an understanding of that economy and its drivers and the demographics. And we see it as a potential super interesting opportunity. And so this is what keeps us going. We have our team meetings and we have to cut them short because there's just so much interesting stuff to look at and talk about. So I think in that regard, we're very fortunate. Again, some big challenges, but in the world, but much of the innovation that we talk about is meant to address some of those challenges, whether we're talking about climate change or energy security or those types of things.
I think that all that remains is for me to relay to you your dream machine choices.
Okay.
So for your favorite, your dream drink, we have AW root beer, but you want A&W root beer.
A&W with a scoop of ice cream.
You want a scoop of float in there,
in
lovely.
a tall glass.
Yep. Cold.
In a diner.
Like that. You
overlooking,
Cool Ranch Doritos, or rather than the Cool Originals, with the extra powdery bit there. I like that. And Wunderbar.
Try again, please.
Wunderbar.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I'm now going to say at you randomly around the office, and I hope some clients pick this up.
And please watch the YouTube advert. It's still out there. It's a cult classic.
Like a no-brainer. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Alex.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks very much.
It was great fun. Thanks a lot.